We'll resume the meeting. Thank you. We'll resume the meeting. I'll ask for confirmation of the agenda. Councillor Graycheck, have you got any additions?
No, I don't, Your Worship, thank you.
Councillor Field?
I have nothing, Your Worship.
Thank you. Councillor Peterson?
I have nothing.
Thank you. Councillor Walls?
Nothing, Your Worship.
Thank you. Administration?
Yes, Your Worship, we have one item. It'll be under item 6.6, Growth Management Board.
Councillor Walls?
Your Worship, I'm prepared to make a motion if you're accepting one.
Yes, go ahead.
Your Worship, I move that council adopt the agenda as amended.
All in favor? Moving ahead to 4.1, minutes of the May 10th, 2017.
No, Your Worship, draft version.
No, that goes after this. Moving ahead to minutes of the May 10th, 2017 Committee of the Whole meeting.
Your Worship, I move that council adopt the minutes of the May 10th, 2017 Committee of the Whole meeting as presented.
All in favor? Thank you. 4.2, minutes of the May 27th, 2017 Committee of the Whole meeting.
I shall move, Your Worship.
All in favor? Thank you. All looking for a motion to move into committee.
Your Worship, I move that council move into Committee of the Whole.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, 3.1, RCMP, our first delegation, Staff Sergeant O'Dwyer. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Your Worship. First of all, thank you for allowing me to come before you folks this evening. I had hoped to bring Sergeant Delaron with me, but unfortunately we got our wires crossed, and he's in Thompson, Manitoba right now, so he says hello, but it's a little bit far away. So I did want to kind of come before you and speak to you about the annual performance plan and how we achieved or how we've come to our targets for this coming year. And thank you again for participating in the surveys that the town did. We had the town, and then we had the County of Wheatland also participate in a similar process, as well as Rocky View. And so by doing all of that, we're able to try to focus in on what the three top priorities appear to be from the communities. When we look at the priorities from Strathmore, the number one priority that came across in the survey was drugs and related crimes to drugs. The number two was property crime, and the number three was persons crimes. For Wheatland County, their number one was property crimes, their number two was impaired driving, and their number three was drugs. For Rocky View, it was traffic enforcement was their number one. Number two was visibility, and number three was their property crimes. So you can see in some of them there was overlaps, and so what we tried to do is we tried to take the number one for each of the communities. So we're looking at property crimes, drugs, and traffic enforcement are going to be the top three community priorities that we're going to be focusing on this year. Do you have any questions on that?
Is that consistent with your data too?
The crimes that we're seeing, we're seeing persons crimes and property crimes and drugs. They all seem to tie in together. And those really are our three, what we see is our majority of our complaints. But the whole idea behind this annual performance plan is to make sure that it's community-driven and not police-driven.
And I think that's a great idea, as long as it's also reality-driven.
Well, perception is sometimes a person's reality.
And I would disagree respectfully.
Thank you. The next item of business that I wanted to speak about, and we have spoken quite a bit about, is the watch clerks. And as I've brought forward to you in the past, our goal is to actually have one watch clerk for each of the 4 watches, which would be 4 watch clerks. The whole reason behind this is so that they can take on a lot of the administrative duties of the members, thereby freeing them up and getting them out on the road. I know we've been in consultation with the counties, and the whole process really has somewhat stalled. And what I'd like to do is make a proposal to council that we move forward with Strathmore's, not necessarily commitment, but in discussions with the town of Strathmore, in that we would proceed with the 2 positions. It's not ideal, but it gives us something that I can work with. My goal would be to have one of the watch clerks working a day shift, the other watch clerk working a night shift, and then the following week, they would rotate. We're not going to be able to get 24/7, 365 coverage, but if I can get 4 or 5 days out of that week versus 7, at this point in time, I'll take it, because I have to do something that's going to help to relieve the burnout of the members and get them out on the road so that they can actually fight some of these crimes. And I'll give you a for instance. This morning, we had 6 stolen vehicles out of this area, out of the northeast part of town and town itself. We are getting just inundated with these types of crimes. I mean, we were able to recover one of the vehicles already, but we have 5 outstanding from when I left work at 4 o'clock. We were averaging almost 2 stolen vehicles a day, plus people going through vehicles. We're getting pressures from Calgary. We're also getting pressures from our eastern border and from Gleason. I'll be quite upfront about it. We are getting pressures from there. It was a couple of weeks ago. We stopped one individual out of Calgary, and by the time we were done with him, we laid 42 criminal charges, all property crimes and auto theft. The accident that you're aware of that happened with the motorcyclist that was going across the country, it was our investigators who were able to determine evidence within the vehicle that led to the charges for the armed robberies out of Carstairs, Didsbury, and Airdrie. That all happened here. Our members are the ones that came up with that evidence to be able to support those charges. When we're seeing those kinds of numbers, we have a group out of here. One group we put away for auto theft. They got let out of jail. We got them again for more auto thefts, and they got out again. So we're continually chasing them. But when we're doing this, like you look at one file where they have 42 criminal charges to deal with, how long does that take? How long is that member off the road? He's off the road for a long time. So it's for those reasons that I'm putting forward to council, or making the request that we move forward with the 2 watch clerks. We've been talking in our office, and we believe that we can take one of our existing clerks and put that position into a watch clerk. So therefore, we would only be looking at 1 additional hire, not 2 additional hires, thereby trying to reduce costs. So I would humbly submit that to you for discussion.
If I may?
Councillor Walls, I believe, was first.
Thank you, Your Worship, to the Staff Sergeant. First of all, thank you, Staff Sergeant, for coming in. I greatly appreciate this, and I really appreciate what you and your members are doing. I greatly appreciate that. I'd like to talk further on this watch clerk topic. 2 is probably what you said is not sufficient. What do you think the cost is, annual cost is for 2 watch clerks?
I believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because this comes out of, this would be something that would be your staff, so it would be your salary dollars. My belief, and correct me if I'm wrong.
Just a ballpark.
I believe it's around 60,000, is that correct?
65K.
Yeah.
So about $130,000, give or take.
But what we're looking at doing is absorbing one of those positions from our existing pool that's already in the office. So really, we're only looking at additional of 60 to 65.
So did the other municipalities that we currently work with, did they give any type of reason as to why they were unwilling to participate in this?
I'm not a politician, but it's not something that I would discuss in open council.
Okay, that's fine. So for 4 of them, we're looking at around $450,000, is that give or take?
65 times 4.
260.
Yeah.
260? So 300,000?
Yeah.
So a little less. So do you think that this would significantly, we'd see more visibility in the community? Not that we're seeing, I've got to commend you, we're seeing a lot more visibility in the community, and it's really, really good to see. It's really good to see.
You're not seeing enough.
Well, so my next question is if we bit the bullet and did this, we're going to see more visibility in our community. We're going to have better, not service, but I like to use that term loosely, if I may.
Well, and that's kind of my commitment. I mean, some of the things that we're seeing right now is that we are having to restrict our calls for service. So depending on the day, depending on how many members we have on shift, and depending on the type of call, we're either having to stack the call or we're not going to it at all. And we have come to that point. So we don't like doing that. It's not the way that we've operated over the last 100 and some odd years. But it is our new reality that we just don't have the bodies or we just don't have the time, depending, again, if it's a person's crime, we have to go. If it's a property crime, depending again on what it is, we're having to tell people, I'm sorry, we won't be coming. Give us your information over the phone and we'll make a file on it. And that is bothersome. So can I say, you know, you're gonna see more visibility? You're going to see the best visibility that I can give you. Right now, we have a number of soft vacancies, and some of them are indeterminate as to when they're going to be back. So there's an awful lot of pressures on the existing members that are there working, and all this does, these watch clerks, kind of gives them that breathing room that says, okay, I know that this stuff can get done. I don't have to worry about that. I can put that off on the back burner and I can do what I've been hired to do and get out there. And not only just what we call it is answering the bell, but actually trying to do proactive policing and trying to prevent crime before it begins.
Your Worship, if I can make one quick comment, that what the staff sergeant just said really concerns me with respect to us stacking calls and maybe not even responding. I'm wondering if perhaps administration can prepare a report to council with respect to what the cost would be, budgetary factor of getting these watch clerks activated.
Maybe you'll make it a motion.
I'm prepared to make a motion after discussion, if that's okay with you. Thank you.
Councillor Graychuk?
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, I for one, be in favor of a watch clerk. I know it's in the vicinity of 60,000, whether it's $4,000 either way, you know, neither here nor there. It's very important that you guys get on the road and especially if you move that other one over into watch also. And my discussions with the Rockview, they're just not at all acceptable to helping us out on that. I had many discussions when I was in Ottawa with them last week, and I found it disheartening that they weren't. But how close are they to? I mean, they're over 5,000 people. They admitted that to me in Langdon. How close are you guys to getting a satellite?
Well, that decision on whatever their policing solution is going to be is between K Division headquarters and Rocky View County. I have very little input or I have very little to do with that. There's been a lot of different types of solutions that have been put forward. There was a meeting held here with CAO Thackeray and Mayor L. We had members from K Division headquarters come down and discuss some of those potential options. Some of them I will openly say I will be pushing back against them because I don't feel that in my current standing that I can provide the service that they're looking to get with my existing numbers. And so that decision will come from much higher than myself.
I shouldn't speak for them, but the Rocky View was in favor of having a satellite. The guys that I talked to, all the councillors I talked to, so.
That's great.
Yeah. And the other thing is that what assurance, and it's all about money at the end of the day, sort of believe it or not, and public or not, what assurance do we have that your members and the sheriffs, when they write a ticket, that they don't put just number one Trans-Canada, number one Trans-Canada on their ticket when they're writing tickets inside of the town boundaries?
Well, I can tell you for my members, and when we're doing the enhanced traffic shifts, when we do have some members coming here from other detachments to help us out with those enhanced traffic, that they're all reviewed prior to them being forwarded, and they're reviewed by Corporal Rennick or right now Constable Smith. And they are reviewed to ensure that the monies are coming to Strathmore. So much so that, I don't know if you recall, but earlier in the year, there were a number of tickets that were withdrawn by the Crown, and there was not good standing for the reason why. So therefore, we resubmitted those tickets to the registered owners. Again, so that we went after the money on behalf of the town to ensure that those fine monies actually went where they're supposed to. I have no control over the sheriffs. We don't see their tickets. But I do see the tickets for our members, and we are finally starting to be able to fill some of those overtime enhanced traffic shifts. And those shifts, again, I mean, there's the 5 hours and their minimums are 10. And I don't think we've ever fallen below those minimums. So we are trying to get out there, and also some of the watches have also instituted minimum fine amounts or ticket amounts per month for the watch in addition to the enhanced traffic shifts. So again, trying to encourage the members to get out there and to observe the fines. We have an awful lot of people who don't like to stop for stop signs in this town. And that's one of the huge tickets that we're seeing a number of. Another large number are insecure loads. People are going to, especially with spring, they're cleaning up their backyards and they're loading up the back of their pickup trucks and they're going to the recycling center, and none of the loads are covered up. And in fact, I had one and it was actually kind of interesting. I'm following him and I've got my camera on, and there's pieces of his garbage falling out in front of my police car as I'm trying to pull him over. We're seeing a lot of that. So those are kind of some of the things that we're seeing every day, but stop signs is horrendous in this town.
So I suppose there is no, in a friendly mannerism, of talking to the sheriffs and saying, just on off-the-cuff basis, did they assure you in any way that?
They do not, but we don't see them here an awful lot. Again, they've had their numbers reduced, and same with the traffic services. The integrated traffic unit, to my knowledge, we only have 2 members right now in that unit.
Okay.
And they don't look after just us, they look after Cochrane, Banff, us, down to Lethbridge. So,
Just thought I'd remind you, I seen him in town this morning, yeah.
okay. Well, there was court this morning.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
Counselor, who was next there? Fuel? Counselor Fuel?
I think so. Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question to our staff sergeant. I think earlier you said that the county was not that amenable to helping with the finances regarding the watch clerks?
That's my understanding. I mean, I have not had the direct contact with them. I have had some conversations with them, and they have explained some of their concerns to me, but nothing in detail that was left at your level.
Okay. There's obviously a really a strong concern in the town and area that crime is a major factor. So my question to you is, since you've just given us that information, could you tell us roughly the percentage of RCMP calls that would be in the county of Wheatland?
They're the lowest of the two.
Okay.
Strathmore and Rocky View are our 2 strongest. Last year, if I'm not mistaken, and I may be, if I'm off, I'm not off by very much, 65% of the calls were in Rocky View County for the counties. Right now, and we're still monitoring and we're still gathering the data, but our call volume is pretty much split 50-50 between the counties and the town of Strathmore. Very, very close to that. Some months will be a little bit one way than the other. I sent you those stats.
Yeah, I guess my question
not
is,
that long ago.
I guess you wouldn't know roughly, I guess I'm trying to establish how much the county of Wheatland could help in regards to having a watch clerk position paid as well, you know.
Well, that's going to give us one more, with having 4 watches, that's how we're managing the 24/7, 365. They're working 12-hour days and 12-hour nights. So therefore, if you have a watch clerk on each watch, they can handle all of the administrative duties for that individual watch, and they become an actual part of that team. And they actually get quite a close bond. And I know that places that I've worked before that have had watch clerks, when the watch clerk is away, the members don't know what to do because they're almost lost without them because they do so much for them.
And I understand, and I totally agree with you. I'm just wondering if there's any way we could broach the subject with the county again, just to see if there's a way to offset the cost of a watch clerk as soon as possible, because we do want to address, and frankly, I'm really, really impressed with your idea that you brought forward to us, because you came to us with the suggestion that just bringing in another member or two is not going to be a huge help, and it's going to be way more expensive, and they're still going to be tied up with administrative work. So the idea of a watch clerk to free up members, I think, is a great out-of-the-box idea, so I really appreciate that.
I know I've spoken with Rockyford, and I mean, obviously they're in favor of it as well, and they say it makes good sense, but unfortunately it comes down to dollars and cents, which is our reality, and I get that. That's why I'm trying to come up with a different idea that will cost us less money, but give us some of the results. Is it going to be perfect? Probably not perfect, but it's going to give us some of those results that we're looking for, so that I don't have to, stack calls or not attend calls because I have nobody to attend. That's what I'm trying to avoid. Wheatland County has the least amount of calls for us. There's just no doubt about it. But obviously it's due to the pressures from the city. I mean, the city of Calgary is growing, and people are purchasing land in Rocky View County, and Rocky View County is growing. And that's fantastic. But with those pressures,
And if I could just follow up then, so you're saying basically that we need the most help from Rocky View County as far as addressing the watch clerk funding.
that's where the most calls for service for the counties come.
Okay.
But I guess what I'm looking at doing is trying to spread this out as evenly as possible, not necessarily due to the workload, but to the areas that we police, and we're trying to help everybody. We're trying to help each other.
Okay, then, and keeping in line with Councillor Wall's comments, I think the sooner that we can deal with admin to try and get something done as far as the watch clerks, the better for me. I'm sure council is quite interested in this idea and having it move forward. Thank you.
Yeah. And that's why my presentation, to try to get at least the two. It's not perfect, but at least it will get us going down that road. And my hope, of course, is that by even supplying the two, that we're going to start to see results very, very quickly and getting the people out there. So again, now you're looking at value for your dollar. And that's my commitment, and I've already discussed this with my watch commanders, and I've told them that, when these watch clerks come in, the members will not be sitting at their desks. They will be out on the road, and that's where we need them. And in fact, that's where most of them want to be.
Thank you very much, Staff Sergeant. Ms. Swatsky, if you'd show that the deputy mayor has vacated the chair and I've assumed the chair. And the only thing I need to know is priority.
Me.
Councillor
Okay.
Peterson's next.
Councillor Peterson, please.
So if our citizens pay for the watch clerks, and what you've just said is that there's a direct benefit to the citizens of this community.
I believe so.
Because we assume 50% of your call volume, and so that, and I think that's what, as representatives of taxpayers, one of the things that they would want to know, I think. And the second thing is that I was present at two county meetings where pretty compellable reasons were given to the county for sharing a watch clerk system. And they likewise presented a pretty compellable story about why they weren't on the hook for that amount, just as you've said.
Yeah.
But they didn't rule it out either. And I think one of the things that would really help is if we could build an evidence base. If you had enough time and you had additional watch clerks in place, and we could build an evidence base to show, that Rocky View was taking 2/3 of that county call and they were taking 1/3, that might be a reasonable split. And I like that you say there's going to be some pushback. But I think if we could build an evidence base around that, it would certainly be extremely helpful to look a year down the road and 2 years down the road to make that case so that we could eventually do what you very reasonably and reasoned presentation to council last fall gave to us. I think that is the ideal. And to work toward that would be great.
I don't expect this to be a fait accompli. I mean, when I look at this, I look at this as something that we have to monitor as we go forward. If we do start off with the two, we may have to play with the shifts a little bit so that we're making sure that we're getting the best benefit from the shifts and so that we're getting those members out there at their best times. In other words, like if I have somebody in there from a Tuesday to Friday, is that the best use of those days? Or do I have to shift them over to working, Wednesday through Saturday or something of that nature? And so I expect there to be some things that are going on that are going to work well and other things that are not going to work well right out of the gate. And that's going to have to be closely monitored. And therefore, those 2 watch clerks that we are using, that we're getting the best bang for our dollar. And then I can come back to you and describe to you or show you how we're using them and the benefits that we are getting from them. Because again, it is taxpayers' dollars and I want to spend them wisely.
Absolutely.
And, so that's the whole basis behind all of this. How do we get the best we can for our dollars?
Well, and you've already shown very clearly that you are a fiscal conservative, a hawk, in your role, and this council and this community has certainly been the beneficiary of that, and we're really appreciative. And the only other thing I would say is that, in a few months' time, there will be a new council, and I think in the last 3 years, we've brought to AUMA, to the K Division, the issue that Councillor Graychuck brought forward of a detachment in our fellow neighbor in Langdon and Rocky View. And I think that that's something that we would like to pursue at a different level in the future, that the future council would pursue that in a much more rigorous fashion than they have in any direction that we could get from data that you've collected would be really useful.
And we continue to collect that, and we'll do so. That's in our daily occurrence report. We're doing that above and beyond what we're collecting from our daily reporting system, and that's just really giving us a very clear picture on a day-to-day basis of where are our calls for service. So I mean, I can get that information to you at any time. We are collecting that daily.
Much appreciated. Thank you.
So.
Thank you very much, Councillor Peterson. Councillor Graychuck?
Thank you, Your Worship. In great respect to my fellow Councillor Walls, I think there's some urgency in us getting the watch clerk immediately. I don't think we have to go through a study. We all know what the approximate cost is going to be for one. And I'm prepared to make a motion that we go ahead and hire a watch clerk immediately with the going rate of watch clerks. And not only that, that would show our fellow neighbors that, look, we're interested, take the initiative with us, and it's going to show the benefits for them when we do it right away. And I hope my fellow councillors go along with it, because I don't think we need to waste a lot of time going through a study. We know what it's going to cost. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Graychuck. Councillor Walls?
Your Worship, I'm not actually looking to get one. I think we need to have 4. I think this is a great concern. And the thing that concerns me the most is when our staff sergeant stands right here and says to us that we are not responding to calls. That concerns me right there. And our citizens deserve to have RCMP when they need them. And that really concerns me. So the reason I want the study done, not study, what I want is a report to come back to council to say, here's our options on getting 4 of these watch clerks to get our members on the streets. And Your Worship, I am prepared to make that motion.
Thank you very much, Councillor Walls. The only item that, and I apologize, Staff Sergeant, for not being here at the beginning of your presentation. I sincerely apologize, because I know the information that you're bringing forward to our community is so important. The only question that I just want some clarification. We are at a population of nearly 14,000 at present, and I believe the municipal's responsibility is 70% of the cost of the policing. And I'm hoping that administration will verify this. And I'm just wondering, where is our next level that we changed to 90%? Is it 17,000 or?
To be honest with you, sir, I'm not
Not
aware,
sure on that one?
I'm not aware where that funding level changes. I thought it had to do, for some reason, in the back of my mind, I'm seeing 15,000.
15,000?
Yeah.
You might be right on that. So we are very close in regards to hitting that 15,000 mark and having to pay for 90% of the policing anyways. So with that in mind, believe it or not, I even support the watch clerk even more. So with that in mind, we got 2 other.
Can I raise one point?
Please.
I do want to stress that when I talk about us not attending a call for service, it is only a property-related crime. If it is a person's crime, we are going. That is, there's no give or wiggle room on that. If it's a person's crime, we're going. The only time, and even the property crimes, the only time we're not going to a property crime is because we're stacked or with more priority calls or person's crimes. So I really want to stress that this is something new for us. It's not something that we do well with, but it is those minor property crimes where you would have had a policeman at your door. Let's say somebody vandalized your fence, something of that nature. We may not be coming to that. But, you know, depending on the day, you have to understand that as summer is coming, and as we've been seeing the last 2 weeks, we've been having upwards of 60 calls for service in a 24-hour period. And that's day to day. So when you're looking at 60-plus calls for service, it's very, very difficult for the members to attend to all of those. And again, especially when you're looking at the number of members that are working at any given time. So when you start looking at those factors, I'm really looking at burnout. My members are basically running from call to call to call and then trying to get them written up. And that's why this is so imperative. It really is.
Thank you very much, Staff Sergeant. Councillor Field, did you have some additional questions?
I did, thank you, Your Worship. Just a question through the chair to admin. I agree with Councillor Walls and Councillor Graychick regarding the urgency. I'm just wanting to find out the funding for that. Would that be financial stabilization if we were to do this sooner rather than later, instead of budgeting for it?
Through the chair, I'm not sure. I'd have to go look. I could answer that at this point, the funding would be half a year. Even if council approval tonight, it will still take whatever, some weeks to go fill the position. So it'd be roughly half a year that we would do it. But it would be a core cost increase.
Yeah, yes, I agree. And I'm just wondering, though, if the addition of 4 clerks is too onerous financially for us right away, or if we should downgrade it to 2. And I guess my question to you would be, would we see a huge difference for the town if we could take on 2 watch clerks? Would that do a great deal to help with the community and their concern with crime?
Just so that I make sure that I understand you correctly, because we do want to incorporate, or again, we want to try to be fiscally responsive on our side, and what we want to try to do is take one of our existing clerks. Some of her duties would carry forward into the watch clerk, because we still have to soak up those duties. So we'd only be looking at hiring 1 to get the 2. If you're looking at hiring 2, then what my commitment would be then that we would run 3. We would only have 1 watch that would not have 1. So in other words, if you were to hire 2 watch clerks, I would take one of my existing clerks. So then now we would have 3 versus 4. So again, trying to reduce some of those front-loaded costs.
So hiring 2 would then give us 3, and there would be a noticeable change as far as?
That would be my commitment, is that when those watch clerks are in there and they're taking on an awful lot of those administrative duties, they don't have to sit in those offices all the time, doing that 42 count information, doing the court brief that goes with that. All of that stuff can be done by the watch clerk.
And I guess the last part of the last question then would be through the chair to admin is, any kind of a motion we bring forward would have to have a dollar amount as far as what we're looking at for costing.
Go ahead, sir.
If I guess, through the chair, to answer Councillor Fuel, yes, we would have to have some source of funding and a way to fund this. The town currently funds 4 municipal employees over there. Probably the the least painful approach, but would still address what I think is actually a good service model, which is the watch clerk system, is to do it incrementally. It's a balanced approach. We don't know what next year is going to look like completely. We will have a new council. And I certainly, to echo what Kevin has said, it is a reality. We can't ignore it. There is more, the city is growing and the counties, more traffic is going west of us. And so doing our part, we would be going to 5, possibly to 6 MEs. We would be carrying our fair share and then some. And I think it would also, as Kevin said, I think it would demonstrate if we can show what we can do with what we can't, with how it works. That does show a service model that's viable and has merit. And it's entirely up to the other counties. There's no, whether they will contribute or not, I can't say. That's a discussion for another day, so.
The one portion that I would want to make sure is mentioned in the funding model is that there would be night shifts involved, like whoever's hired or whoever goes into that position needs to understand that night shift is a reality. And therefore that usually changes the funding model, because normally there is, when they're working night shift, they do get a little bit more for working nights. So I just want to make sure that they understand that this is not just a, Monday to Friday. It can involve weekends. It will involve nights. And holidays, because we work 24/7. With the watch is working, the watch clerk is working.
Can I ask James a question with regards to what he just said? Yes, if you don't mind, the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Peterson wants to ask a question in regards to what James said. Go ahead, Councillor Peterson.
I'm just wondering, with regards to what you just said, do we have still an unfilled position on our roster? In our bylaw, and they're all filled now? Okay, thanks.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. To the Staff Sergeant, when you mention you won't jump on too fast on property crime,
I'm sorry, could you please say?
where you said you wouldn't respond to property crime?
Yes, there are times when we have to either stack them, or due to
Right.
the call volume, we just do not have the ability to attend.
I'm just curious, because it must be just about time for somebody to kick my front doors in again.
Well, I hope not.
I've got 2 questions for you. You mentioned you have some soft off-duty members.
Yes,
How many would that be?
I can't talk about that in open council.
You can't, eh? Okay.
That would have to, I can discuss those if you want, but they'd have to be in camera.
Okay, no problem. Is our full complement 16 in
There are
municipal?
16 members assigned to the municipality of Strathmore.
Okay. And my other question is, Red Deer, from what I understand, is supposedly actively going after the return of the auxiliary RCMP?
They may. We have to be very careful with auxiliaries. A lot of towns in previous years have used auxiliaries to augment the regular force. And that's where we got into this problem in the first place. And we have to be very careful. They are not police officers on their own. They are only to assist a regular member, and therefore are not augmenting a detachment's strength. They are there, they can be used at an accident scene to direct traffic, those types of natures. They are not doing investigations.
Right.
I just want to make sure that, we understand that, because in past years, and I've seen it, where we've had 2 auxiliaries in a police car out on patrol. And that just scares the heck out of me.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Walls?
Your Worship, just one more question to our Staff Sergeant. When you talk about stacking calls, on average, how many calls per shift would be stacked?
We try to get to them as soon as we can. I think this morning we had 1 or 2 calls that were stacked, and probably within an hour, we tried to clear them. One of them was an abandoned vehicle. So it's not going anywhere, it's abandoned, it's in a field. So we had to stack that call because there was other calls that were more priority. So as soon as we got those cleared, we went and cleared the abandoned vehicle.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Walls, did you wish to make a motion?
Your worship, I do wish to make a motion. I would move that, council, no, I can't make a motion right now, can I? I have to rise and report?
No, you
can I
can't.
not? That's
No,
right.
we can't.
Thank
We
you.
have to- we have to
I
do
will
it.
rise and report if that's all right, your worship.
Thank you.
No further comments, your worship, thank you.
I'm glad you caught that.
I was looking and she was glaring.
No further questions of the staff sergeant?
I did have one other, matter that I was going to bring before you that
Please.
you wish to discuss. I had sent the statistics from January to May. I know I spoke briefly about our auto theft problem and that earlier. I know that there was some concerns with an issue that we had at Carruthers School here this past week. And I guess while I'm here, I'll throw myself on the floor. And, if there's questions that mayor or council have over the statistics, the trends that we're seeing, or the things with the school, or how we've been dealing with things. I know communications has been mentioned as a concern. We know the communications is changing with the advent of AFRAX that's coming online, and our other emergency services. We know that AFRAX is not cheap, and but I believe, or it's my belief, that we need to have those communications available to us, with our other emergency services. And so, again, I'll throw myself at the mercy of council, and if you have any questions on any of that, I'll try to answer them.
Well, I will make a comment, first of all, in regards to your response to the issue that happened last week. Your response was quick, and it was appreciated by our community, and we thank you. It was handled very well. And with anything that happens, sometimes you can look at it with a thought after it's occurred and come up with a better plan to do some things. And one of the areas that you and our administration hopefully will take a look at is improving the communication so that we have a better understanding of what's happening in regards to some issues. And we understand there has to be some confidentiality, but
I can respond to this last one. Most of the time, I would not be directly involved in the situation, and therefore, what I normally do is as it's unfolding, I will send our CAO a quick text letting him know that this is happening, so that he can then send that out to yourself and council. This last week, I was in the middle of it, and therefore I was not able to take time away to send that text. We were on the radio with our CPOs, with Teresa. Teresa and her crew were very much aware, and they were assisting us. And again, we had other units from Airdrie come in as well as the traffic units were here. So we had a number of people, because of the type of situation that it was, we wanted to deal with it expeditiously. We did not want to cause panic, i.e. sometimes when you send out something through social media or through the media, you have sometimes you may cause panic, or you may cause looky-loos who want to come and start looking in the area. Our goal was for people to still continue to play in the park with their kids, to still be out walking the dog, to really know nothing is going on, because that allows us to continue and widen our search, which is what we were doing, and look for the bad person without people all over going, what are you doing, what are you doing, what are you doing? And so there was a method for our madness in keeping that reasonably quiet, or as quiet as possible. Obviously, social media, you can't keep ahead of it. There's just no possible way. And so I was thankful that we were able to deal with the situation in less than an hour and get that all controlled. But there was a reason for that.
and we understand and we appreciate what you did. Any further questions in regards to the report that we had received? Nothing further? Councilor Walls?
Sorry, Staff Sergeant. I want to go back to this watch clerk thing again. So, I'm sorry, Council. If you'll indulge me for one more minute, I have one more question. So currently we have 3 watch clerk, or 3 admin staff?
No, there's currently
Two-
4.
4 admin staff over there? So if you take one of those admin staff off admin, is that going to impact your
Well,
operations?
That one person that we're looking at tries to do some of the duties of a watch clerk for all of the watches. So that person is going to be able to take her portfolio with her
Okay.
and actually have some of her workload reduced in some regards and increased in others.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you very much. No further questions?
Oh, yeah, sure. Our fire chief has just brought to my attention the lockdowns that occurred over this last. I want it to be known, I guess, that none of those lockdowns were initiated by the RCMP. That was completely at the discretion of the school boards. Carruthers School had notified us that they were locking down, and we said, that's fine. That's at your discretion, and they followed their policies for that. We were actually quite surprised when we found out that all of the other schools and the hospital and the swimming pool, and we were getting calls, and they said, we're on lockdown, and we said, you're on what? That was not at our request. So that caught us completely off guard, and I know that probably ramped up the angst in the community. We did get calls when I got back into the office and responded to a number of calls that I had waiting for me. There was several to the school boards and to the school board media relations, wanting to make sure that we were on the same page as far as our media releases. And I said, well, I'll send you a copy of what my media release is, and then you can be on the same page with me. But this is what we're sending out. And of course, the first one was very brief. There was no danger to the general public. We wanted to make sure that that was very clear. And then the second day is when we named the individual and the charges that were laid. So we wanted to make sure that that was clear about the lockdown procedures. That's up to them, and they can follow their policies. We do not direct that.
Okay, nothing further?
Just a question. So it's been a long time since I was a school administrator in this community, but our protocol was always closely aligned with the RCMP. The school board's policy was very closely aligned, and unless it was an emergent issue inside the school, the lockdown process was always closely related to the RCMP advice. Has that changed, do you know?
Well, there are times when we will advise them, like if
Yes,
there's,
absolutely,
if there's
yeah,
an active
yeah.
situation outside, we'll ask
Of
them,
course.
please go into your lockdown
Yeah,
because we
and
have
I've
a
had that
concern.
happen, yeah.
We have a concern.
Yeah.
And in this case, it made sense for Carruthers School
Yes.
to lock down.
Yes.
Which they told us that they were doing, and we
Yeah,
said, great.
yeah.
That was where that conversation ended. We found out later, we got calls on the radio saying that, there are teachers yelling at kids in the schoolyards of all the schools in town, and we're going, that's news to us.
Interesting.
Okay. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. To the Staff Sergeant, I realize keeping the public safe is of utmost importance. And when you say there was no danger to the public there, I'm just curious how you know that.
We knew that by the statements that we had taken and the information that we had received right on the outset as to who the individual was and who the threat was towards.
Because even, I think social media was buzzing as it was happening that day. And even downtown, I'm hearing it was everything from a plastic gun to a BB gun to a shotgun. And so how do you know what you're dealing with?
Well, that's from having the inside knowledge of who was there and who was involved.
No, I appreciate the fact that, that you said there's no danger to the public. That's the main thing.
The only other thing I would have for you is if you do want to go into camera and to discuss the soft vacancies.
No, I'm okay with that.
Okay, all right, then that's fine.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you very much, Staff Sergeant. We appreciate your attendance
Thank you.
tonight and all of the information that you provided.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda, please help me, Councillor Wells. Advertising for community agency.
Your worship, if perhaps council would do so, can we move item 6.1 to item 6.7?
Yes.
6.1 to 6.7?
So 6.2 becomes 6.1? Okay, that would be fine. 2017 Parade Marshal Invitation. Ms. Simpson, I guess you have the floor.
Thank you. So we're just here today to talk about the upcoming Strathmore Stampede Parade and inviting someone to be our honorary parade marshal. As council is aware, every year we invite a group that has a significance to the parade theme and or significance to related events in the year to be our parade marshal. Just to remind you, in 2015, it was the Strathmore Bisons, a hockey team, following their run to the TELUS Cup. And then last year we honored a family who was who received an award for farming for over 100 years in the area. This year, the parade theme is Canada 150, celebrating our heritage and culture. And on that note, we're recommending that council invite the Siksika Band Council to be our parade marshal for the 2017 parade. This aligns, we feel, well with our parade theme as well as council's strategic plan to build relationships with our neighbors. So we're looking for some discussion around that or any other recommendations that you have.
Thank you very much, Ms. Simpson. Councillor Peterson, I think you know where I stand on this issue, so I'll let you talk.
I think it's a wonderful idea, being they were the only ones that were here 150 years ago. But that's not what I wanted to talk about. I really appreciate the sentiment, and I know it'll be appreciated on Siksika. My question is, just recently, the Western District was asking what the theme was, well, Canada 150, and they were talking about opportunities, and maybe a wonderful opportunity. They have this wonderful flatbed and float, and maybe it would be a really wonderful place to offer for, should council approve this, it would be a wonderful place to create a float around that with the Heritage Committee. Just saying. Might be, I don't know.
Sure. I think if the parade marshals were interested in that, we would
Be an
help make
opportunity,
that
yeah.
happen. Yep.
And just to give a little further insight, the Calgary Stampede have declared who their parade marshal will be. Treaty 7.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, I think, personally, I 100% support inviting Siksika Council to be our parade marshals.
I'm prepared to make a motion.
Well, we'll do it after we come out, so. Is there questions or further discussion?
Thank you, Your Worship.
No? Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Simpson.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
And summer events update. You have the floor.
So we're just here to share some updates on some events coming up and to remind council of some of the great things happening in our community. So I'm just going to run through some events, and then if you have any questions, we can address them. Starting this Saturday is the Get to Know Your Neighbor Festival. It's just a reminder that we'll be closing a big chunk of downtown and holding a street fair. This is the third year that the festival is happening, and encouraging to drive business into the downtown and with a shop local focus. The Canada 150 Committee will be setting up for the first time to selling and launching their Strathmore 150 clothing and merchandise line. It's been coming in all week and it's fantastic, and so we encourage people to come and check it out and support the Canada 150 Committee. You can see full event details on the Get to Know Your Neighbor Festival Facebook page. On June 24th is the Strathmore Triathlon. This is a Strathmore-owned, family-friendly triathlon for everyone of all ages. Everyone from 5 years old to 99 years old can participate in the triathlon. It's a great way to get dip your toe in the triathlon world because it's a non-competitive race. If there's also opportunities to volunteer if running, cycling, and swimming are not really up your alley. They're always looking for help on the day of the race, and so you can check them out at the trismore.com website. But the registration deadline is June 19th, so everyone has time to register. July 1st is our Canada Day Festival down in Kinsman Park. It's going to be a great year to celebrate Canada 150. We have a fantastic lineup of live music and family-friendly activities. Everything is free to the public to enjoy. This year we are adding a really fun cow milking contest that we encourage you to come out and experience. That's all we're going to say about that. It's something you just got to see for yourself. The day finishes off. Oh, we have some great local food vendors that is going to celebrate some fun Canadian food, including poutine for the first time this year at Canada Day. The fireworks this year are going to be at the Ag Grounds again. We had such great success filling the grandstand last year that we're going to continue on with that. They go off at 11 p.m. and that is also free to the public. We encourage you to get there early, as parking and getting into the grandstand takes a bit of time. We want to just take a quick moment to thank all our sponsors for Canada Day. We got great support from the community this year, including a grant from Canadian Heritage, support from Strathmore Building Supplies, Scotiabank, Epcor, Safe Blue, Aquila Homes, Anarchy Motorsports, Huckstead Waste Management, Pet Value, Strathmore Co-op, Strathmore Dental Center, Strathmore Travelodge, and the Strathmore Sobeys. Following our Canada Day festivities, if you still have some energy, we're hosting a Canada 150 picnic in the park. This is going a little old school with some fair games and a picnic with some entertainment provided. Everything except for the food is free to families, and the Strathmore District Chamber of Commerce is going to be on site with a barbecue. So if you don't want to pack your own picnic, you can get food in the park. August 5th, in conjunction with the Strathmore Stampede and Heritage Days, is of course our big parade. It starts at 9 a.m. and it goes throughout the downtown. Registration is open now, so we encourage everybody to get the registration in for their floats. It is free for all nonprofits and organizations to participate, and only $25 for commercial businesses. The theme, as previously mentioned, is Canada 150, celebrating our heritage and culture, and we encourage everyone to decorate their floats with that theme for a chance to win in the judging contests again this year. August 19th and 20th is Alberta Open Farm Days. We have a great group of people working on putting a great program together over those 2 days, and there'll be more information to come on that event in the near future. So throughout July and August, the Canada 150 Committee is hosting a Battle of the Bands with a grand finale of a music festival. The committee is partnered with the Legends Kitchen and Bar to host 36 Canadian bands in a Battle of the Bands every Thursday night, starting July 13th through August 17th. We have 4 amazing local judges who have stepped up to help. Linda Storkson, Haley Williams, Marvin Gill, and Dallas Larson. And we're really excited. We're getting lots of great response, and we're pretty excited about the caliber of the bands that we're going to be getting. The finale for the Battle of the Bands will be on August 25th at the Strathmore Ag Grounds with a music festival with a headliner to be announced on the Saturday, August 26th. So watch for more information on that. So those are the events coming up this summer. It's jam-packed and lots to do, and a lot of free family events for the community to support. Looking into the fall, we have a few events that we're working on that we wanted to share with council. The Strathmore FCSS Youth Club and our community events staff are working on hosting a Go Girl event in October, and this is an event targeted specifically at preteen and teenage girls, and encourages and supports an active, healthy lifestyle. It's going to be a free or low-cost event to all teenage girls in the Strathmore area. We've partnered with the Wheatland Society of Arts and the Western District Historical Society to host Alberta Culture Days on September 29th to October 1st. We had our first meeting yesterday, and we've got some great ideas around cultural walking tours, art walks, and some free art classes. So more information on those events are going to be coming. And finally, we've partnered with the Strathmore District Chamber of Commerce to host a Business Awards Gala to celebrate Small Business Week in October. And we've partnered with the Strathmore District Ag Society, the World Professional Chuck Wagon Association, and the NHL Alumni Association to host a WPCA NHL alumni game and meet and greet in Strathmore in October. It's going to bring some fun alumni and professional chuck wagons out to town and watch them battle it out on the ice. So that's what's coming up in events. If you have any questions, I will try to answer them.
Thank you very much. Most interesting. What a busy year. Councillor Fuel.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Tracy, for your report. It's going to be an amazing summer and fall. Just wanted to add a couple events just for people to think about. On Sunday, June 25th, the Youth Club is hosting its third annual Rock and Ride. It's a skateboard, cycle, scooter clinic and competition. So if kids and youth are interested, I don't know if Steve's got his helmet ready to go, but we can get him out there.
Yep.
And on September 22nd, the Youth Club is hosting its third annual drive-in movie fundraiser. So more information will be coming as well. Just wanted to get those out there as well. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Councillor Fuel. Nothing further? The question I'll ask, Councillor Fuel, the Rock and Ride, is that the competition is that the Sunday?
Yes, it's
Okay,
Sunday,
good.
June 25th.
Okay. I wasn't quite sure what.
Are you judging again, sir?
Yes.
Excellent. Not
Thank you.
competing, but judging.
Yeah, I'm not gonna get on a skateboard, I can tell you, not at my age. It hurts too much when you fall. And I don't know if this is quite the right venue. The Western District Historical Society had a seniors luncheon. Did you have attendance? Did you have a chance to attend that?
It was, yes.
And I was at another meeting and I couldn't make it, so I was just wondering how that went.
Well, I can speak on my experience, and it was excellent. It was a very well-run event. The soft launch of the app that we're going to be seeing is very exciting. I think it's going to be a great feature for the town. And the seniors were very happy with their roast beef dinner.
Oh, good.
As was I.
Good.
Yeah.
Councillor Peterson, by all means, please.
The Western District Historic Society also honored George Freeman with an honorary membership. The first honorary membership was given to him with Tom Sadler, who worked with George for many years. Councillor Graychuck and Councillor Sobel also attended, and our new tourism contractor, Darlis, attended with Tracy. So it was, I think they wound up having 156 people attend, so better than they had anticipated, and everybody had enough to eat. Lynn Fair and her crew put together a beautiful representation of historic memorabilia. They had a free band playing, a band, Alan Peters and his people donated their time, great music, and the feedback was tremendous. And so they received donations at the door that they did not anticipate, and they sold many of they prepared little packages of historic, what do you call them, hasty notes, a card with historic pictures, and I think they actually made a profit. So they were very pleased, and it was, as Tracy said, the entire seniors week was the
Very well
best
done.
attended that I've ever seen,
Absolutely.
from Monday through Friday. And a great thank you to FCSS for all the work that they put into Seniors Week, and to the Seniors Advisory Committee, and to Western District. They were, and Tracy's crew, of course, just did a fantastic job.
Super, thank you very much, Councillor Peterson. And did you want to mention this?
Sure. So part of our Canada 150 swag is, or merchandise, is we're really trying to get a better social media presence, and so we created a
Twitter,
word
hashtag.
bubble, or a speak bubble
Speak.
with our hashtag, and so we're going to be handing them out at community events over the summer and encouraging people when they're taking photos around our community or on their holidays to include the speak bubble in their photos and hashtag the Strathmore 150. See how people are celebrating their Canada 150.
Good. Thank you very much, Ms. Simpson. We appreciate your information.
You're
Thank you. Next item on our agenda is the town advertising sign. And Who will be presenting? You have the floor, sir.
Excellent. I don't know if I have as much information for you as I hope to get from you guys, so. It was, I guess, discussed that there was potentially a group that was wanting to see the sign on the highway moved into town. And that's, I guess, where hopefully the discussion will head here. But I'll just start by saying that the capital request that I did request was to replace the sign that is existing on the highway. Right now, it has our old logo on there. It is an older sign. We're looking for something that's can do more than just the two or I think it's 4 lines of text that are on there. So we're looking for something that's a little gives it a little more pop, I guess. And we're also considering doing both sides of the sign. Right now, it's just the one where when you're coming from the west to the east, you see what's on the sign. So the capital request was for just the replacement, essentially, of the top of the sign. It did not include any idea of moving it elsewhere, and with that would probably become greater expense than what I had budgeted for. So I guess we can talk about that. Some things to consider if we are talking about relocating the sign is where. That's an important part of it. Who owns that property? Are there any liability concerns or legal or regulatory considerations? And would that new sign affect others? Would we hear complaints about it being too bright for some people, or yeah, that type of thing. And also the cost for the infrastructure, so the foundation work, is there electricity nearby, or what it would take to get that, and also the communication to the sign from here. So something that's not on this radar, but I should mention it too, is that we have considered, and it may be a possibility, that we would be putting a sign eventually on the street where all the recreation facilities are, for that purpose, to advertise what's happening at those facilities. Because right now on the arena, that is our only sign in that area, and it is one that is a manual thing, where they put the letters up, or they get up on a man lift, which is very scary. So that's something that's considered. But I wanted to hear what has been heard from the community about moving this sign. That was kind of news to me. So
Good, thank you very much. Who was first?
Not me.
No. Councillor Graychuk.
Thank you. I'm very much in doing something with that sign. You can't read it even at 60 kilometers an hour. I can't read that fast, and it's in the wrong location. There's everything wrong about it. You'd have to take into consideration the dismantling of it, and it is our sign, I believe, is it not?
it's our sign, yeah.
Yeah. The dismantling of it, and as far as putting it on the highway, I think there's enough signs already. I'm more in favor of putting signs on the new buildings, and you can change them electronically right from here or wherever, rather than putting something on the highway. I think that would be much more effective, especially the new recreational center, and then of course our existing arena. That would be my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Graychuk. Councillor Peterson?
Yeah, it was brought up at the Seniors Advisory Committee for sure, and their concern was just like, and major concern came up after the light standards went in, because that really interfered with the vision, and it's very not useful now.
Yeah.
And if it ever was, it's definitely not anymore. So one of the things that the Seniors Advisory Committee had said is exactly what you said. Wouldn't it be better to move it up onto Brent Boulevard, where all of our activities are, where it's a major thoroughfare, where people could see all the activities available to them in community on a regular basis. One of the other things that the Seniors Advisory Committee has talked about is to make it a very big focus of the New Horizons Seniors Grant next year, to make it a major focus of a grant to put in an electronic sign. So if the town got behind that, I think that, there is a possibility for $25,000. And of course, then it would be specific to seniors, so, but it would still add another element of possibility to the process, especially if you had two sides, it'd be great.
Yeah.
And can you put another side on the one that's out there?
Yeah.
You could,
Yeah.
you could add, yeah.
Yeah. In fact, it'd probably be more visible than the one there is right now. Shortly after I moved here, I don't know who put the telephone pole there or the power line pole, but I made a quick comment to the person that was here before me saying, why would somebody do something like that? But it's only multiplied since then, so I think there's 3 or poles or something like that there now, so.
The light standards was the final straw.
Yeah, so that was the thing, is that I didn't really know what discussions had been had and where potential areas for moving would be considered, so.
Do you know the cost of the sign, of a replacement? Do you have any idea?
We have one quote in, I can't mention numbers or anything because it was not
Sorry,
official.
yeah.
But the dollar amount that I had requested, I think it was 80,000, very well covered that cost, so.
Thank you.
Councillor Graychuk?
Yeah, thank you. Just one more comment, Your Worship. And this is blown my memory. I recall that the Lions Club had something to do with that original sign, did they not? That's what I thought, and we'd have to get permission from them to work with them on it or dispose of it or whatever. I know that they did have something to do with it because a few years back when I was dealing with them, they had a say in as to what was happening with it. So they are involved in it.
I have not heard that before.
Go ahead, sir.
You'd have to check with them. Thank you.
Councillor Balls?
Yeah, Your Worship, to administration, there was funds given to the town from the Lions Club.
Thank you. So I guess what administration is looking from us is some direction. First of all, do we want to maintain the sign at its current location? Do we want to maintain that sign? And if we maintain the sign, do we want to move it to another location? Do we want to put a new sign up on that location? Basically, what do we want to do? Councillor Peterson?
We have $5,000 in matching funds coming from Canadian Badlands. We could incorporate that into the sign. That would be something we could look at, the New Horizons project for next year. Mel has his arms crossed, so we definitely can't take any money out of the budget for it. But I think that the budget is a budget, and I don't think that we can do anything about it till the next council has an opportunity to plan in the fall. But it would definitely be desirous to have it as a priority on the tourism committee focus for the future.
If I could make a quick comment?
Please.
I will tell you that the original intention was to replace the sign in the location that it's in, but to shift it so that it is more visible and not hidden by poles. So I thought I'd just add that so that you know the budgeted dollar amounts that are already approved were for that purpose.
But it wasn't 80,000, was it?
Yep.
Was it 80? I thought it was 40.
Okay, Councillor Graychuk?
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like a more thorough, and I know that the administration is very busy, but before I make a decision, I have to give us some options as to where it should be moved and all the factors and the cost. And also, I could be wrong, Councillor Peterson, but I thought the Badlands was only giving us 2,500. I could be wrong on that.
But we have to match I think it's 5 millimeter. I might be wrong too. I don't.
Yeah, we'd have to check that out.
Look into
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Tracy, now,
It's matching, okay, yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you. I'm wrong, I'm, first time.
so, to add to Councillor Grayson?
Go ahead. Go
Just to
ahead.
add to that, if administration brings back, if they bring back options like you mentioned before about maybe moving it off the highway and moving it into town, that should be on the table too.
Yes, oh, for sure.
Thank you.
That's what I meant, yeah.
We will rise and report if administration wants after committee of the whole in regards to what we want for a report from administration. Yes? Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Dan. Appreciate.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate the information. Next is the MSI in regards to the downtown storm drain. Please.
Your worship, council does have a handout on their desk for this matter.
Okay. Ah,
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. In front of you guys, you see a report for yourself in regards to the downtown storm. I'll present the report. If council agrees with the report, once we get into a council meeting, we will provide a recommendation to it. So in 2017, Town Council approved the borrowing bylaw, which authorized the allocation of funds to different community projects around town, a notable one being the Downtown Streetscape Project. Through the Downtown Streetscape Project, it was identified that there were drainage issues on 2nd Ave due to the fact that we had shortage in grade from 3rd Street to 2nd Street. The engineering consultant recommended the installation of a storm line as per our downtown storm plan, which was designed by Allnorth in 2016 and has been added to our new storm master servicing study update, which the infrastructure department is working on at the present moment. With the information that we were provided currently, which we propose, the consultant estimated that the installation will cost an additional $500,000, while conjunctionally increasing the construction schedule by 1 month.
thank you very much. Any questions? Councilor Wells?
Thank you, your worship. Just a quick question. So would this alleviate the water that's building up on that 2nd and 3rd Street there?
Exactly.
And my next question, I guess, would be to our Director of Engineering. How come this wasn't budgeted for prior to this?
Since we had the microphone, I thought I'd come up here.
Oh, thank you.
It was not included in the original project scope, as funds that were provided in the borrowing bylaw would not have covered this, and also had the opportunity to revitalize the sidewalks and et cetera. That's the only reason it wasn't brought forward then.
So would it have been premature of us then to, if we wouldn't have done the work, would it have caused bigger problems down the road if we wouldn't have done the work?
If we don't do this work,
If we didn't include this project now, if we didn't do it before, it would have caused us big troubles down the road, right?
comment I can make on that is that the downtown stormwater infrastructure replacement that we have planned was only scheduled for when we do deep service utility replacements, and that's why it was not brought forward. For cost reasons, we were only recommending stormwater installation, new stormwater installations during those infrastructure replacement programs to save money.
Okay. To me, this seems like it's a little bit of a big issue. Is it not a big issue?
Stormwater infrastructure in the downtown, it is an issue, and we were addressing it, like I said, with infrastructure replacement. This would be an improvement to the downtown for sure, and it would just mean that it would be in place earlier than scheduled.
So what if we don't approve this tonight, which I'm going to go on a limb and say there's a very good chance it has to be approved, when would it be done?
It would be done if we got approval for the infrastructure replacement of the water and sanitary lines along 2nd Avenue. That wouldn't be for approximately, and This is a really rough guess,
Yeah.
but approximately 30 years, maybe, give or take, based on age only.
So what, and not to steal the floor, your worship, but what are the costs of us replacing that? Well, we have the street open anyways, the water and sewer line there now.
The cost would be less to do it when the infrastructure is being replaced.
So I guess, your worship, I'm wondering why we're not doing that work right now. I get it's a lot more money, but why wouldn't we do that, the stormwater, the water, and the sewer at the same time? Perhaps.
Go ahead, sir.
Support what Bryce and staff were saying. I think we made a valid case that there is no stormwater there. There's none. And so we don't even have a 1 in 10 preventative safety measures for managing the stormwater. There is water, there is sewer. As Bryce and staff said, it's 30 years out. And so we don't want to open up the street yet again to do more, to replace the storm at some future date. It makes sense to do it now, because it's there and it's not, it doesn't open the whole street up. It does delay it for money.
Yes.
So we have money in reserves to do this specific work from our infrastructure reserve. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's a compelling case. So that's what, and the other purpose was, it was the original debenture debt. The intention was to do above-ground street improvements.
Yeah.
So this was picked up, and the staff also did, and I'll commend them for it. You guys just completed the stormwater plan.
The master servicing study?
That's the one, thank you. So,
Yeah.
and that identified, and that also helped. So I think the value for us to invest in our planning, using our master servicing studies, I think is proving fruitful. I think it makes sense.
Just to add one little comment, I don't want to make anybody panic by suggesting that there's no stormwater infrastructure downtown. It's an overland drainage infrastructure right now.
I was just gonna say, it's a slope.
Yeah, there's.
No problem with that, unless you're down on the bottom.
This was, the idea is that the downtown, the plan for the downtown stormwater is to have it underground as we go. So this would be part of that program, no doubt about it.
In your worship, I think it's very good, and I commend you for bringing that. I wish I would have known when we were voting on the actual project that we couldn't have done this, and that we should have gone, maybe have had different conversations about it at that time, because, this is a pretty,
Master services study wasn't done.
oh, so, I guess we didn't even know,
And
so.
as James mentioned, this was, I believe the project was originally considered a surface improvement, not a deep services improvement, and that's where we were trying to avoid cutting into the road at this time. However, it has been brought to everybody's attention, and it's an important matter, so if, I think that's what the discussion here is about tonight.
That's why I want to commend the staff for, it was a good investment to do the master servicing study. It's giving us good advice, and we're being cost effective by doing it. I think that's commendable, and I really respect it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yesterday around 4 o'clock during the height of that storm, I was standing in my coffee shop looking out the window, and it was kind of like a fast-flowing river going down the street.
Street cleaning.
Yeah. It certainly cleaned the street up. The question I got is, Second Avenue and 817, which basically floods in that intersection. Does this alleviate that? It wouldn't, would it?
So the area that we're looking at is from Second Street. So Second Street and Third Street was our main problem area because we do not have enough grade in that area, so it's fairly flat. And that's where you get a majority of your pooling
Okay,
happening.
but there's another block up in there yet, isn't there? There's one more block, isn't there?
There is one more block.
Between Third Street and 817.
Yes.
That's where there was probably 2 feet of water laying in there.
Fair enough. I did not see that. I was driving around.
I drove right through it.
When I was there at that time, but for the time being, with where we were going, we kind of stopped at that Third Street mark.
Okay, and so, and you're saying, by doing this, you were going right down Second Avenue to Lakeside.
Yes, so it's gonna go from Third Street, going down the road to Lakeside Boulevard in the
Yep.
intersection. The plan shows that the storm line will go into Pond 3, which is basically Kinsman Park, the lake down there.
And it's gonna increase the construction schedule by 1 month, so we're gonna be looking at about an 8-week disruption now?
Yeah, it'll be an addition of a month into the construction schedule.
Ah, interesting. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. And the only question, comment that I have is, you'll be thinking of putting conduit in for fiber sometime in the future when you're doing this too? No, that's okay, I'm not expecting an answer. No. Thank you very much for your report, and we will rise and report when we do that one.
Well, we can, no, I think he's bringing it back to the next meeting.
Is it the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
You bring it back to the next meeting, right? That's what you
It'll
said?
be after, once we go to council.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I see. I got you.
Tonight.
Okay.
Yes, you're correct, rise and report.
I got you. Okay.
We'd like.
Yep,
Today.
got it.
Yes, please.
Okay. And next is Growth Management Board?
Did you say the
Can I
gross?
speak to this?
Pardon me?
May I speak to this?
Yes.
I'd just like to get a resolution to support the Airdrie resolution to put an ACP grant in. The other councils have been passing this, so I'd just like a resolution from the council. We're still not certain exactly how this is gonna roll, but we're getting positive, at least a positive talk from the minister, so we wanna get as much money as we can, at least. And we would, at least we can get a few, like 100,000 in. I suspect this probably money, or just a little comment. Yeah, it's just to support the other councils that are passing resolutions this month. We'd like to do the same, and unless we have to see those.
Okay, thank you. And we can do the rise and report at the end of this for that one too. Good.
I just have a question.
Please?
Do you have a preference as to which alternative, like, that, in the document that's in front of us? Like, I know these are Airdrie alternatives, but
These were Airdrie.
how do they,
They supported the recommendation that they supported, is that we endorse the ECP grant app for the interim growth and evaluation framework for the CM, and using the CMP.
and that's what you would, that's what you're recommending? That's what I want to know. Thanks.
Number one? Oh, you're talking about the rec.
Last page.
Yep.
Right. And next item is the 6.7, which was the advertising for community agencies. And I think you have that, Ms. Swatsky?
Yes, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Council asked administration to bring back a report regarding the possibility of implementing a advertising page in local newspaper for outside organizations. We're bringing back the report for council's information. We did a little bit of research into our page just to see what the annual cost of running the page is. Right now, the approximate cost for the yearly advertising or annual advertising is about $25,000. We have a few recommendations if council decides to move forward with offering this service. We would recommend that a number of policies and procedures would have to be put into place around a number of matters, including who can advertise on the page, what kinds of advertising there could be, who has, how do you determine who has priority on the page, et cetera. Those all would have to be taken into consideration. Also, another matter that would have to be taken into consideration would be staff, having staff available to actually do it. It's not as simple as just taking an advertisement and sticking it on a newspaper page. Because it is a town page, there would have to be parameters on what would be allowed on editing and submitting and approving, and it would just take a bit of time, I think, for staff. So those are some of the considerations that administration is bringing forward, if council so chooses to move forward with this.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sawatsky. Who was first?
Not me.
Okay, Councillor Fuel?
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question through the chair to Jen or admin, I guess. So in administration's view, this would be a more onerous kind of a task and not necessarily something that would be recommended as opposed to just continuing on with Facebook and Twitter?
Your Worship, in essence, yes. Currently, we have our one page, and it's always full. It's offered to, obviously, within the organization and to council's committees. Having to deal with outside committees and organizing all of that advertising we would need more staffing resources to do so.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor Fuel. Councillor Peterson?
So first of all, I'd like to say it's not always full because I check it every month and it's not always full. There's spaces and empty spaces. And so I do believe that it is a town page and that it should be only committees of council that are on that page. And I think that when I brought it forward here, it came from the Seniors Advisory Committee. And they were the ones who were the most interested in doing that. But I do think inside of that, they've been doing a phenomenal job of preparing advertising through local calendars, and I think there are other options, putting it on our website of the town and those kinds of things. But I do think that the committees of the town need a place, and we already have a process underway where all of their book of business is guided under our current procedures manual. And so I think that it wouldn't be as onerous if we were to put it on the page, on the town's page.
Your Worship, just for clarification, any of council's committees can advertise on the town's newspaper page. I just want to be clear, or I just want to make sure I understand.
In all due respect, when I first came here, I asked on behalf of the Seniors Advisory Committee, if they could put advertisements on the page. And I was told it would come under consideration, and it would come back in a report. And so at no time in any of my notes was there ever an indication that they were allowed to advertise on the page, because they ask every meeting. And that's why I brought it here. It was on behalf of the Seniors Advisory Committee. And so I'm happy to bring this information back to them. They'll be happy to know that, and they'll be judicious in what they provide.
Thank you very much, Councillor Peterson. Thank you very much, Ms. Swatsky. Was there any other items on the agenda before we rise and report? Nothing? Councillor Walls?
Your Worship, I'm prepared to make a motion to move out of Committee of Whole.
Nothing further? Okay, we have a motion to move out of Committee of the Whole. All in favor? Carried. And do you have your typing fingers ready, Ms. Sawatsky? Because we do. Okay. Who is first? Okay, Councillor Balls.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would move that council, I'm not really sure how to exactly word this, and perhaps maybe I can use administration and council to support. Yes.
Sir.
May I ask a question through the chair?
By all means.
In hearing Kevin's presentation, there's no question in my mind that the model he's proposing is sound. It's rock solid. The tricky part is getting all the other players to come to the table. It's not just us. What I'm hearing from council is, and as we've discussed since the budget, I think there's unanimity in the support for the model. So I'm wondering, just as a suggestion, would council be amenable to trying to consider asking the other players to fund a one-year pilot or even 18-month pilot with the commitment that if the town commits to one ME plus funding, either funding or sharing another ME, to see if they can prove the support and ask the others to kick in an equivalent amount. If the counties are 50%, we're 50%, there's a 50-50 split that could be a fair option, and put an end date on this, and then because the challenge will be funding essentially 3 more MEs, or 3 to 4 more is a bit of money for terms of core dollars. And then the second point, would council be willing to, what's your feeling on increasing the revenue streams to offset that? Just a question I posed to council. And would you like us to do any more research on this, or would you like us to just go in this regard? And we could certainly pursue this. Just a suggestion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Wall has the floor. Do you want to just pause for a second and let Councillor Peterson speak?
I do have a couple of questions on what our CEO Thackeray said. So, so one or two things. So first of all, it would be like a pilot project. Do you think you could get buy-in from the... One of my concerns, obviously, Mr. Thackeray, is, is our staff sergeant saying that we're stacking calls and so forth, and that's a concern to me, and to you as well, and to the citizens. So, do you think you could get buy-in in a month time? Like, I'm just trying to get some numbers together. This obviously it's going to take some time to get some staff together. If we decide to pull the trigger tonight, take time to get staff together. It's going to take time. Probably not realistic. Not realistic for this to actually start until September, anyways. Best case, is that correct?
Are you referring to the recruitment time? If we do the recruitment, it's less time than if the RCMP do the recruitment. There still is a security clearance process, and that can take some time. As Kevin said, they can apply one of the clerks to the process if they have a second one. If I may, one suggestion could be that we ask the other partners to share one more ME, and we split the cost 3 ways. That's one option. Another option could be to the town, should they wish to commit to 6 months this year, of this fiscal year, 6 months of next fiscal year, to an ME. You could apply a condition that it's conditional on the counties equally putting in another ME into the process, which would cost them each about $30,000. And they could be county employees, they could be a town employee. We could work that out. That way, there's if it's proving, and it'll show the stats, they'll show the outcomes and the results, and councils could move forward.
Your Worship, if I may follow up with a comment, I do like that idea, the pilot project that Mr. Thackeray suggested. I think it's a very good model and way to show that this is actually a viable option, and I would definitely support that. Thank you, Worship.
Thank you very much. Councillor Peterson, I think you were next.
So, do you really think anything would be different if we go back? Do you think you have, I think our Director of Community Service at one time talked about the magic fairy dust he has when he makes moves, to things. I just don't know what would be different, at this point. What would be different?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I fully understand.
So we have gone to Rocky View, and we have gone to Wheatland.
Yes.
I've been at 2 meetings with the County of Wheatland who've said, we see no necessity of us moving in. We are only 1/3 of the issue, first of all. So if there was a 2/3, 1/3 split, I'd be happy. If you could make it work, like if you did bring out your magic fairy dust and you could make it work when it hasn't worked for the last 6 months, and where very limited interest has been shown,
I like your idea of an incremental process, but I think probably what might be more compelling, both at the provincial level and K Division, in terms of the Langdon situation, would be to run an incremental project and collect the data and present an evidence base. And, so, I don't know, maybe we have to hire up front and hope for the commitment at the back end. And if we could get a commitment to them to say, if we present you with an evidence base, that this is how much skin you have in the game versus what we have, and we'll put the money up front, but at the end of a year, we want you to kick in if it's still, if that's the situation. I would be very much in favor of that.
Would council, if I may through the chair, would council be amenable to an MOU between the three parties on the condition that that the parties could agree to look at funding for a year? And because otherwise, otherwise we have no evidence either way,
Right.
except that we know that other cities do the Watch Clark system. It is a sound, beneficial model. It's reasonably priced, and
Councillor Graychuck?
Thank you, Your Worship. I love your enthusiasm, James, but in my discussions with, again, being negative Nelly here, my discussions with both parties, they were in my face, no, we're not gonna pay for anything, period, end of story, don't talk to me. But that doesn't say don't give up on us, but I'd be more in favor of starting slowly, and that is hiring one ourselves right now and proving to them that it pays off. So we move in small steps and show them that it's a positive reaction, over the time. And it would be $65,000, and I thought I seen Mel here, we could, but as soon as we talked about money, he left. But that would be my thinking, is start right away with one, and you're gonna throw in the other one, and go step by step, and we could prove to them, that would be my thinking.
Yeah, if we could do an MOU on that basis, I mean.
Yeah, on that basis, thank you. No, it comes back.
Not only that, Your Worship, but can I speak? If we did that, that gives us a really, when I heard the staff sergeant say, this is time for pushback, he's talking about something that Councillor Walls has said is a very critical issue in our community. And so I think that pushback is in our court too. And if we have an evidence base that we can take to K Division to say it's time for Rocky View to step up. Their population is where 3 years ago, K Division promised us that they would make a move. So the time is right, and I think having the hard evidence behind it will tell a compellable story one way or the other, and either they have their own police force or they kick in for the watch clerk system until they do. I think it's a wise move.
Thank you very much, Councillor Peterson. Councillor Walls?
Your Worship, I'm probably going to violate our procedure because I'm being over 10 words and I won't have it to you, so sorry, Ms. Swatsky. I'd move that council approve the hiring of one additional watch clerk effective immediately, and that a MOU be drafted and sent to our county counterparts.
Rocky View County.
Rocky View and Wheatland County.
Go ahead, sir.
And that a report come back tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. No, within a year, 6 months, with the report, within 6 months? Year? Within a year, perhaps?
It'd be good to have one in 6 months.
6
for
months.
AUMA, and
6
like
months.
a preliminary. and then-
Preliminary report, 6 months. Yeah, with a preliminary report to come back within 6 months, showing the effectiveness of the watch clerks.
Cost benefit.
Cost benefit, something like that. Ms. Swatsky will make that much cleaner and better.
Go ahead,
I know
sir.
she will.
If I may, can I clarify, is this a sort of a one-time supplementary to, or is this a permanent FTE?
Put in the budget.
Yep, I
Otherwise,
think,
I'd like to ask council for a budget amendment.
I would suggest we make this a supplement, and then it would be budgeted first, it'd be two.
Okay.
Would that-
Because it will, okay.
Yeah.
So certainly you're committing for this year.
Yes.
And the funds for this year will have to come out of.
And the funds will be drawn out of financial stabilization. Mel, is that okay? You're all right with that, Mel? No, he does not.
It doesn't look very good.
And so what we're trying to achieve on this is we want to have a memorandum of understanding with the counties that we are doing this. Hopefully, at the end of 1 year, we can prove to them the benefit in regards to having additional RCMP officers on the street and in the rural communities doing their primary job, and we will have the watch clerks in the office doing the administrative work. Go ahead, sir.
If I may, would council also consider taking this as a high-profile priority issue over the next several months? It is vital that we get information out there on this, and I'm wondering whether you'd like to have maybe a little event at the RCMP where we could have something, a little signing, invite the commissioner and say,
Good idea.
we're approving this, has some profile. I think it's really important that this is broadly known, if I may be so bold.
So, I think we're all in agreement with that.
We'll put together an event, and I'll talk to Kevin, and we'll see if we can get some Mounties and Stetsons and.
Now, what we've approved, of course, is one watch clerk, but I do believe that will actually translate into two, because one of the municipal officers will, and I forget what their title is right now, one of the municipal clerks will be switched into a watch clerk position. So it translates into two, but you only have to pay for one. Okay.
Thank you, Your Worship. And there's nothing matter with a little wine and cheese at the RCMP office.
Wine and cheese at the RCM.
Supposed to be funny. Coffee and donuts, okay. Oh, that's even. Anyway, this MOU, this hiring of the clerk is not contingent on the MOU, or it's, yeah, I just want to clear that for sure, yeah.
If I may, we'll work with Kevin and we'll draft something, and I'm connecting with some of my county counterparts over the next several weeks, so I'll try and raise it there too. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm 100% behind hiring a watch clerk right off the bat. I'm not too sure what positive could come out of an MOU with our neighboring partners. They've pretty well given us the answer already. I'd be more concerned with getting rolling with the additional watch clerk right off the bat and try and collect whatever data we got so we can get it to K Division at AUNA. And say, look, this is what we're doing, this is the results we're getting. Now that happens, AUMA happens, November this year?
Yes.
We might not have a watch clerk in place by then yet, eh? On the security.
If there's somebody from another detachment, then the process will move much faster if we hire them versus it goes through the
Yep.
RCMP recruiting, which can take a very long time.
I'm just saying I'm more willing to deal with K Division than I would be wasting time with Rocky View or Wheatland County. Thank you.
And just to support your motion, Councillor Walls, the town of Okotoks is going to the watch clerk system. if they haven't already done it. Yeah, so there is some other communities that have decided that this is very, potentially very valuable. So we have a motion on the floor. Are you happy with that motion? Yes? Okay.
Would you like me to repeat it, Mr. Mayor?
Sure, why not? Yes.
I have that council approve the hiring of an FTE position for an RCMP watch clerk effective immediately with funds to be drawn from financial stabilization, and that an MOU be drafted and sent to Wheatland County and Rocky View County for financial contribution to a watch clerk program, and that a report come back to council by the end of October showing the cost-benefit analysis of the program.
Thank you very much.
Exactly what I said.
No further discussion?
Your worship.
Nope, go ahead, sir.
That is talent.
Just to clarify, this is, if we're drawing from financial stabilization for this year, then the new council will have to consider the FTE in next year's budget, but are we allowed to hire a term position or a permanent position?
Term.
So a one-year term position? Yes,
And we
no?
don't have to do a budget.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
1 year term. Councillor Walls.
Just a quick clarification, so there'll be 2 watch clerks there now. We're going to hire one, and then he's gonna still transfer the one over? Okay, perfect. Thank you, Your Worship.
Good. No further discussion. All in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, Councillor Peterson.
Your worship, I would move that council instruct administration to draft a letter to inviting Siksika Nation Band Council or their appointees to attend the 2017 Strathmore Stampede as our honorary parade marshal, and to ask if they prefer, if it is their preference, to let them know that the Western District Historic Society would be willing to have them, to host them on the float, with Siksika Nation being the focus of that.
Did you want some clarification on that?
He's just like an auctioneer. Ice makes
Your Worship, can I just have some clarification? Is it to invite Siksika Nation, Siksika Nation to be a part of the Western District Historical Society float?
No, the Western District has just let me know that they would dedicate their float to the parade marshal, and they would decorate the float accordingly to reflect the honorary parade marshals. And I've just received a notification from the chair that, of the Western District, that would be a good idea.
Okay. Councillor Graychuk?
I certainly am in agreement with that. I just want to clarify that it's most important that the parade marshal have their own identity to the float. It's historically always has been that way, so Western wouldn't have any signage on there, or?
Well, I'm not saying that they wouldn't say that, that they wouldn't have something that indicated that it was Western District that put up the float, but it would definitely be dedicated to the Siksika Nation. And if they couldn't do that, we'd find another way, for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. No further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Was there another one?
Yeah, Mr. Moore.
Please, Councillor Peterson. Oh, pardon me. I think, I don't know which one you're doing, that I think Deputy Mayor is going to do the recommendation for the MSI?
The sign is first.
The sign is first? Which one are you
The
doing?
sign.
He's doing the downtown.
Okay, he's doing the storm drain. You're doing the sign?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Please, Councillor Peterson.
I would move that council ask administration to draft a report, or bring back a report regarding the replacement or different placement of the sign that's currently out on the number 1 highway on the edge of town.
Thank you. Councillor Wells?
Your worship, perhaps maybe we would, administration, when they're drafting their report, would have a conversation with the Strathmore Lions. I know there's been multiple conversations with them about setting up additional signage, maybe an opportunity to partner.
Well, just to add one more little wrinkle, we can always look for a sponsor to pay for the sign too. But that's another issue. Councillor Peterson has a motion on the floor. No further discussion? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And is there one more? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Regarding the downtown storm line, I would move that council approve the Second Avenue storm line for an amount not exceeding $500,000 plus GST, and that the Director of Community and Protective Services is authorized to sign the service agreement on behalf of the town. The funds are to be drawn from MSI.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
I had one question. It's okay. It can be after.
Go ahead, ask your question now.
Yeah. Can you just clarify me exactly where the storm line's going to be going? I was said, but I just can't recall exactly.
Second and Third Street?
Third to Lakeside Boulevard.
From Third to where? Street or Avenue?
Third Street, to Lakeside Boulevard going into Pond 3. Pond 3 is,
Yes, okay. I had it the other street. All right, thank you.
Good, thank you. Deputy Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. But so when I'm answering questions, can you clarify what this is going to do?
sorry, clarify what the storm line's going to do?
It's basically going to take the water off the street so it's not running down the street like a river, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Walls?
Your worship, I'm prepared to make a motion.
For what purpose?
I would move that council go in camera to discuss matters under FOIP section 24. Oh, we did that?
We haven't voted on this motion. It's point of order, we haven't voted on the motion.
Yes, we did vote, and then Councillor Graycheck asked questions afterwards, and it was carried unanimously.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I know.
We missed that part, sorry.
Yeah, I was calling the motion, and he was turning the light on.
So, Your worship, I move the council go in camera to discuss matters under FOIP section 24.
Before I accept that motion, Ms. Swatsky?
Your worship, another point, there is another motion that council, in regard to the Calgary metropolitan region.
Your
Thank
worship, I think I'm ready.
Go ahead.
I would move that council endorse the Alberta Community Partnership Grant application to fund the development of an interim growth plan and evaluation framework to guide interim growth in the Calgary metropolitan region.
Very well put, Councillor Fuel, thank you.
Wow, very nice.
Any further discussion?
Me, Jen's like you.
Any further discussion? Any further
I want to raise half a hand on this.
All in favor? Carried.
Now, Your worship, I'm prepared to make a motion to go in camera to discuss matters under
Before I
section
accept that
24.
motion, we're not going to be going back into the committee of the whole, we can just go into in camera? Yeah, okay. I'll take the motion to go in camera. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Thank you very much for your attendance. Now,